And my women are following my lead on how I'm going to respond to George Floyd's death, right? Or how I'm going to respond to the verdict with Breonna Taylor. Like, my community is looking at how I'm going to respond and will follow my lead on that. And so I take that very seriously in the ways in which, like, I lead my community, because I know that they're looking to me for what to do next.
Yeah. And we're all watching you. So actually, this can tie into my next question. Kayla, you recently wrote an article. Could you sort of expound on, just tell us what that article was about and how you what influenced you to write that article?
Yeah, I recently wrote an article on how to be an ally in the fight for racial justice. And it came from this summer. It came after George Floyd's death and all the many things about Breonna Taylor, and me kind of feeling like I had so much to say. And when you're sitting on Facebook platforms and people are saying everything that they want to say, and sometimes you don't. And Facebook is a space where Eric will know he definitely engages in like the conversation. And I'm just like, it's so draining because that person isn't necessarily listening to us, and you're putting out your bets and you're really trying to think out your argument so they can like hear something, and they just shut it down. And it actually came right after someone posted something about the Confederate flag that I really wasn't a fan of. And I really thought about a really intentional way to say, like, how do we engage in this conversation? I have different thoughts. I want to tell you why this is like offensive to me. And I thought it out and I put it on their page, very kindly said, but just challenging. And they just reshared the article without my comment. And I was like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Like that is not the way. Okay.
Yeah. Social media, so it's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think it was me being like, how can I preserve myself in the face of like this is not a one-day battle, right? Like racial justice is not going to end tomorrow, 12 steps or not. And people have to be willing to enter in to even change. And most people aren't willing to enter in. And I think the beauty of the reaction to George Floyd and all the protests is some people being like, it's on their radar now. And I was saying, people keep coming to me saying like, hey, how can I be an ally? Like, I want to be an ally now. I see the importance of it. And them wanting me to have like a 2-minute answer on like, this is all you have to do. And then you can like wipe your hands free and go sit back down. Right. And it's so much more than that. And so I decided to write down like what it really takes to be an ally and all the difficulty of that question. And to say like, just saying you're an ally does not make you an ally. You have to actually do the work. You have to be active. You have to fight the battle with us. And that means that you're going to be uncomfortable. And that means that you're going to maybe lose friends in that battle who don't agree with you. And that means that you can't just sit in your privilege and say, I'm going to not do this today because I cannot do it. Because the person of color next to you doesn't have that privilege to step out of it. And that means that you as an ally should not be stepping out of it either. And so it was really a call to action for those people to say, okay, you want to be an ally, this is what it takes. And when you want to do that, then I'm ready to be there, right? But don't just say ally. That is lip service if you're not going to be willing to walk the walk.
Yeah, the doors of the church are now open. Let the church say amen.
Can we just tap into that real, that basic spiritual, fundamental spiritual lesson, right? Rectors are also pastors, okay? So the basic fundamental spiritual lesson is that there is no growth without discomfort.
I'm going to add to that because we are taught, that we are here to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. And so that is the call to action that Kayla has called us to. But it is the gospel call to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfort.
And I also want to say, if we're going to be Christians or a Christian university, if we're living like Christ, the transformation comes after the sacrifice. The transformation comes after the death of self, right? And so all of these allies who want to walk with us, but don't want to have to sacrifice and don't want to have to be uncomfortable, but want to be transformed, you're not living like Christ.
Yeah.
And if you say you love me, and if you say that you value my life, I need you to show me.
Yeah.
Because your lip service isn't going to bring back Breonna Taylor or George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery. Like, show me, be with me, walk with me in this fight.
And here's the thing: what we're talking about is hard work. No, I don't want to make this sound like this is easy. This is not easy. This is not easy for me. It's not easy for anybody else in this Zoom conference. And I think that the key is that the willingness to stay present to stay present and stay focused on the goal, which is personal and social transformation. Those are the goals, right? And so for what good? For the good, right? Capital T, for the good, the common good. And so what it means we don't want, for example, more Black students to leave Notre Dame in 10 years saying, Notre Dame was a great place to be from, but it was not a great place to be at.
Yeah.
We don't want that. We want Black students to leave this place like so many white students do, rabidly, obsessively proud to the point of nausea. Okay, at being from Notre Dame.
Yeah,
and we want them to say, "Man, I had the best experience." We want to see Black students and Black alumni in large number coming back to Notre Dame's campus because they just can't get enough of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Like that. That's an indication that things have changed.
Yeah,
right. That's legacy students. Because their parents are like, oh, you got to go. You have to go to Notre Dame, right? So those are the ways in which we might be able to measure progress on our campus. And that's long-term work. It's not short-term work.
Yeah.
So that means increasing numbers, right? That means having difficult conversations. You say to students all the time, I say to students, did you ever learn anything when you were playing sports? A lot of guys play sports. A lot of women on campus. A lot of our students are athletes, both men and women. Yep. A lot of them were valedictorian and captain of the varsity team at the same time. Crazy. Okay. And say, did you ever gain any real growth as an athlete without pain? No. Right? Without discomfort, without having to get up early in the morning and do the same thing more times than you would like.
Lynnette understands.
No. So I really think that that's the spiritual truth that we have to also lean into.
Yeah, and you're right. And like you said, a lot of people don't know that rectors have different roles. But rectors take on a lot. You have a lot of residents that you have to care for. And I know that can be stressful at times. There are happy moments. Yes. And there are also, moments like what we're facing now in 2020. So, just sort of wrap everything up. Let me ask you all this. Once you're done being a rector, which I know you're sort of never done, but what do you all do in your spare time? Like what helps you to decompress?
Sleep.
Wait, you sleep, bro?
When I can.
Sleep is
when you're done. When you're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about, what'd you say, Kayla?
It gets me through. Star Trek and Jesus get me through. Go ahead, y'all.
I know.
Joe, you go first. I think I'm gonna sit on this.
Is the question on our hobbies? Because I don't have any.
What restores us? That's a hard question. I think I certainly think we all have been restored, but I think the seasons of that, depending on what is going on with the week, might not be as consistent. I think sleep is my number one kind of always working on it goal. And when I get a good sleep, I'm hitting it out of the park today. Yeah. But I also think I really appreciate the community of rectors, particularly rectors of color right here in the space where I can bring my full self. I can bring my frustrated moments, where I can bring moments when I need to say I am doing all I can for this community, and not just community Lions, but community Notre Dame. And I'm not sure if the community is hearing me or meeting my needs right now. I go to people who get me, so I can go back in and say all right, I need to vent out this, but then I'm going to go back in and bring my best self tomorrow and hope for better in the next time. Because I think no institution is perfect, none. No. The church is one of those institutions. It's not perfect, but it's as good as the people who make it up. It's as good as people who bring their full selves and try to make it better. And so for me and my students, I tell them the same thing. When you come to Notre Dame, you don't leave unchanged, I hope. And I hope that Notre Dame doesn't leave unchanged, right? Like, so you come in, you bring something and you make this university change. You make it better. You make it push itself to be the university that you signed up for and you're paying to go to. And so, but that takes work and that's sometimes tiring. And so I want to make sure that you have that space where you say like, I need a break from this. I need people who understand what I'm going through. I need people who are going to revitalize me so I can go back out and continue the work.
Yes, I agree.
I don't necessarily live on campus, but one of the things that I have done to restore is somewhat to compartmentalize. Mm-hmm. So I took just a random story. I decided to take like a blast from the past on like my old Facebook photos. And I was watching a picture of me. I was an undergrad. I was a part of student government, and we were having this overnight retreat. And I was teaching some of my white peers how to step because I was in a sorority and all of the things.
Hold on. Did they make it work right? Did it look right? Was it good?
No, not at all. It was just we were bonding. Okay, it was just a bonding moment. We were just there. But somebody had snapped a picture, and I was like, it made me reflect that I've been trying to educate and teach for the longest. And at this point, I don't have any more energy for anyone other than my students. So when I walk off campus, if somebody is asking me, I'm like, you can go Google. I'm so sorry. And I have to just, I don't have it in me anymore I'm tired. You know what I'm saying? And I realize it's not my job, except for my students are my job. And that's who I'm committed to. And that's where, I'm committed to, connecting them with resources, letting them know about certain articles that they can read, different offices and different people who they can have conversations with to continue to aid in their self-development. And to Kayla's point of surrounding myself around like-minded people who can understand that in this moment, this is me not saying that, okay, just because I'm frustrated that we have to go in there marching and, tearing stuff down or anything. It's just that in this moment, I feel like it, you know what I'm saying? Or even when I have to deal with it from my colleagues, it's frustrating.
I also want to add, I can't be your confessor. I don't know if it's a Catholic institution kind of thing, but I do feel people come to you and they want absolution for the things that they have done in the past. Yes. Like they're telling you not to just say it, but because they want you to say it was okay. And they could be like, oh, good, I could sleep again tonight. And I'm like, wow, actually the real work of change is sitting in that. I'm not going to give you absolution because it wasn't me that you did it against. And if it was me, it wasn't okay either. And so
our church doesn't let you give absolution.
Right. Jesus doesn't let me give absolution. Jesus hasn't given me that yet. So
Hey, here we go, Joe. Okay.
But I also think there's something to be said about like allowing that person to sit in discomfort, and they're coming to you because they don't want to know. They want to be like, oh, it was okay, right? It was okay.
Yeah.
Right. Or this self-deprecating behavior that they participate in because they want, oh, it's okay. Well, it's all right. It'll be better. And it's just like, this self-deprecating behavior is just the opportunity for you to deflect, right?
Yeah.
So, but this also speaks to how many people really want to talk about this.
Yes.
I might not have the time or the energy every time I see you, but I understand that, and I'm serious, that it's the other thing. People of color talk about race all the time. Maybe too much, but we talk about race all the time.
Oh, you're going to get
right? So we're used to talking about race.
Yeah.
But I think that very often white students and white people in general, they often don't talk about race in a constructive, in this, it's something you don't want to talk about because if you talk about it, you're a racist.
Yeah.
Right. So that logic, messes you up really. So I think that part of this is that now we're talking about it and it's coming out everywhere. And sometimes, I don't want to talk about it. Sometimes I want to drink this beer and watch that game or whatever it is that we're doing together, right? So, balancing that out, right? Yeah. Trying to figure out what to do. The other part is for me, what do I do? I have friends, right? I have friends with whom relationships I have nurtured for sometimes 30 years, right? And I need them in my life. because they know I can walk away from this and they can say things to me that everybody else can't say. And I can say, oh, okay, right. Come on back down to the ground and be a human being. And the things that you care about as a rector don't matter to everybody else. So, just check yourself. Yeah. Right. And that's the kind of stuff that I need. I need those relationships. And I hope that our students are starting to build some of those relationships as college students that will also sustain them when they're over 40 or over 30, right? And get them through some difficult things and help them not lose sight of themselves, not lose a sense of humor, not lose hope when they're dealing with difficult things. Those are the things that I think friends do. And I think that at Notre Dame at its best is a place where friendships are built.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that you made me think about Jesse Williams' quote when he said, or his speech when he said, just because we're magic doesn't mean we're not real. Yep. And right now, with George Floyd or Breonna Taylor and all of the things, like, we are also trying to participate in our own healing and then having to be responsible for, right, for having to try to comfort the folks who benefit from the very same system that we are going against. It's a lot. And so it's real. We need time to process, and we need time to just be and psychologically unwind and psychologically undress in front of those individuals who we can be vulnerable and real with when we're dealing with all the things simultaneously.
She said psychologically undressed. I said, oh, okay. Oh, all right.
True.
I remember.
Oh, it's a turn in here.
All right, go ahead.
Go.
I'm just going to talk over Uncle Eric over here, and then, because my mic is good, right? My mic good?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Someone mute him.
Vulnerability, Eric.
I think one of the things that we've talked about a lot in our rector cohort is really about recognizing racial battle fatigue within our students.
Yes.
And also recognizing that within your colleagues. Like, yes. There is a sense that, like, we're supposed to be the experts in teaching our white colleagues how to be better ministers to their, Black and brown students. Like, it is not my job. Like, happy to have the conversation, but it's not my job to hold your hand through this. And like, to your question, Emorja, like, the ways in which that I need to restore is to be in quiet in prayer, in conversation with my Lord, and let myself, like, wash over, and using Paige's image of, like, undressing all of that in prayer and in silence and in quiet, and really allowing that to let the Lord lead my heart in those ways. And then also being with people I feel safe with here on this campus. It is a lonely place for a Black and brown person, as you all know. And so I'm year 3 here in the cohort, and, like, I'm grateful and always, like, light candle, like, that I have found you people on this on this campus, like Paige on one of my first days here on this campus, and Eric and Kayla throughout this process of being a rector, and Emorja, this new friendship that we have too. Like, I don't think I would have, like, lasted at this university without safe individuals, people that I could, like, pour into and have people pour into me in the ways that I need it as a professional, because I can't be a good minister to my students if I am running on empty.
Mm-hmm. You can give what you don't have.
I cannot give what I don't have. And so I had to seek it out because it wasn't handed to me when I arrived, as it is often handed to our white brothers and sisters. Yeah. But when I sought it out, I think that, like, my relationships on this campus with Black and brown folks have been so fruitful and have really, like, helped me stay here and want to keep doing the hard work.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as a current student, I can echo that sentiment as well. I think that obviously I love all of my white friends, but it wasn't until I found my group of Black and brown people that I felt most at home here and most like I could emote and be totally Lynnette at totally all the time. But I do want to wrap it up, and I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for being on the show today, because I know as a student, it's really good to hear from Res Life people, and as a senior who lives on campus too, it's encouraging for me to hear that Res Life does care about us, people of color and students of color. And for everybody watching, we encourage you to continue the conversations within yourselves, with your community, with your peers. But like we said, take some time for yourself, because you don't have to be everybody's confessional. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Black_@ND, on Twitter at Black_@ND, Facebook, Black@ND, and don't forget to tune in on Thursdays at 7:45 on YouTube. Links in the bio. It's great to see all of you again. Have a good week, y'all.